Hey guys, so the Pokemon. Actually, let me just do this. Hey guys, so the Pokemon Champions trailer just dropped from the Pokemon Presents earlier today. So I wanted to make a video giving you my thoughts as I go frame by frame through the trailer. I'm super pumped for everything that's coming, although I do have a couple of concerns. Overall, I'm very excited though. I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer. Like, this is going to be a great game. So let's just dive right into the trailer. To start off, I am very impressed with the graphics. Now, if this was going to come out in a couple of months, like I kind of had a feeling it might have, I would be a lot more concerned about it. But just looking at this, it really looks like they just ripped like the Sword and Shield stadium, reskinned it, and they took the like lighting and the shading from that as well, which I think is the best looking Pokemon game. That and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu. The models look like they've been ripped straight out of Scarlet and Violet. That's the only thing that's concerning, because the polygons look a little but it's already a step up from Scarlet and Violet because of the shading and everything like that. And also, this is not due out until early next year. So I'm not like concerned. This is not me saying, hey, I think this game's going to look bad. The animations itself look incredible. So not concerned, but I am, it's just something that I noticed, I guess. First thing I wanted to look at is the UI. So the UI looks great. The only thing I'm a little upset about is that it feels a little gacha-y, like it feels like a mobile game. This is clearly the Switch version though, because if you look up here on the top left-hand corner, there is a button here to run, which is the minus button on the Switch controller. So listen, this doesn't look bad. It looks pretty good. It kind of has that almost like slightly cheap gacha UI feel to it, and I think it's just because they're developing this for both the Switch and for mobile, and they probably just wanted to keep it consistent. So not a deal breaker, obviously, but it is something that I kind of just immediately noticed. Like UIs like this, I don't know, they just always look kind of but that's like most of the bad stuff out of the way. I'm really excited for it. So they did announce the recruiting feature of this game, which I think is great if you are somebody who doesn't play the mainline series. They did remind us that you can bring in your Pokemon from the main series through home, so most of us won't have to worry about spending our points on recruiting things as long as you are still playing the, more recent versions of the game. If you've been playing VGC up to this point, you 99% have everything that you need already, I'm sure. So this isn't something that I'm super concerned about. I think it is important to keep the accessibility in mind, though, for people who aren't playing the mainline game. This is great for people who love Pokemon Go, who want to try out VGC, or people that like Pocket and want to try out VGC. This is a very accessible way for people to get into the game. I think what's going to be the most important thing to keep in mind this entire time is this VP or the V points, whatever they want to call it, making sure that these are easy to get. Now, I just want to talk about the microtransactions in this game. We have no idea what the microtransactions are going to be. We're just going to put that in the ground now that we know that. We don't know how this will be monetized, but we know it will be monetized. Either it's going to be a pay up front or a free to play with microtransactions. I just don't see a pay up front with this sort of VP system being in there. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a microtransactions game with some sort of battle pass or something like that, because that's what all the games are doing nowadays. As long as these points are easily like gettable, as long as you don't have to grind super hard, like you shouldn't have to do more than 1 or 2 matches to fully build a Pokemon, in my opinion. I think it's okay that these would be monetized as well. I think for the more hardcore gamers that want to spend their time actually playing the game and not having to grind things out, it's okay to be monetized, but it's not okay to be monetized when VP is extremely gated or hard to get. My opinion on this though is that I just don't see TPCI investing in creating an app like this, moving the entire growing competitive scene to this app just to gacha them. I just don't think that that's a thing that TPCI needs to do or wants to do. Let's be honest, Pokemon already makes so much money, and obviously they're going to make money off of this version as well, but they don't need to, blow it up. And why risk exploding your competitive scene for some extra cash? I just don't think it's worth it. It worked for Pocket because it's not like you're taking a community from something else. You're just creating a casual Pocket, TCG community. I think if this ends up being the new mainline competitive scene, I just don't see them taking that risk. So I'm going to err on the side of, listen, be cautious, keep an eye out, but I'm not, pressing that emergency button saying this game is dead on arrival. I really don't think so. And I think this would be a huge mistake to the ecosystem if they did that. So just keep in mind as we go through all these different UI features and what we're looking here, keep an eye on what things are costing so we can get kind of like a relative idea of how it's going to be playing this game, especially if you're a complete free-to-play player. So one of the other things I just wanted to do, and I didn't hit the pause button fast enough, is Let's take a look at this. So you could recruit this Pokemon for a trial recruitment for 7 days for 0 VP. That's really cool. Unfortunately, it's probably just going to be a one-time thing, and then you have to pay after that. 1,000 points. Usually in a lot of these games, you do have to play multiple games to be able to get a new champion. But I think looking at this, there are just so many Pokemon that are in this game that if it took you like 3 or 4 matches to get one Pokemon, that's just unsustainable. People can't do that. So something's telling me that getting 1,000 VP points probably isn't the worst thing possible. Yeah, I don't know. I think they need to make the base of this game accessible to everybody and not just people that already have all these Pokemon. So let's just keep that number 1,000 in mind. So the first thing that jumped out to me on this screen, though, is the IVs. So over here, we see 3200, 3220. This was confusing to me. At first, I wasn't even sure if it was IVs because, first of all, IVs historically go up to 31. And also, on top of that, I don't see why you wouldn't have maxed out the IVs for defense and special defense. So I thought, oh, maybe they, just don't have enough of the resource to max out their IVs. But later in the trailer, we're going to see that you're actually at a 66 IV cap. So this is actually changing the game. Like, fundamentally, you're changing how Pokemon battling and building works. I'm not sure of the implications of this, if I'm going to be honest with you. I want to watch other people's videos on this. I'll be honest, I just streamed this and immediately hit the record button, so I haven't even watched what other people are thinking about this. I could be totally off the mark on this, but I did find that was pretty interesting. Also, was there anything else I want to talk about on there? I think there was one more thing. Oh no, there wasn't. I think that was fine. Oh, yes, the boxes. So 15 out of 30. That's another thing too, is I really hope we don't have to grind for box size. That's one of my other concerns, is if I'm already having to use these points to customize my Pokemon, why do I also probably have to use points to get more box space? There's 1,000 Pokemon in this game. I don't like when games limit your bag space. That's the only thing that concerns me a little bit. But again, I'm holding reservation until we actually get to hear what the points cost, how to get the points, if they're easy to grind, or if we're gonna have to dump a lot of money into this game. So let's pause reservations on that. Next, this looks like the team preview section. Now, a few things immediately jumped out to me that I think are super important. One, I love that they included the types of the Pokemon on the side, because one, I think it just helps really make the game accessible to new players. I think there's an enormous learning curve that players have to overcome to get into Pokemon. A lot of us have been playing since the beginning. We already know Feraligatr is a water type. We already know Lucario is fighting and steel. But if you're a new player, I think it's just an unnecessary learning curve to memorize the typings of 1,000 Pokemon. And you can make the argument that over time you will just naturally learn everything, but I just feel like there's so many other things that these players have to learn. Why also throw typing at them when that's something that's just so easily accessible? Especially since the mainline games have already kind of implemented that like super effective thing, or not very effective, or no effect into the game. Just add the typings into it. The other thing that jumped out to me here, though, is if you take a look, this UI is a lot different than our normal team preview is. For one, there are no items in here. I think that's probably just because there's no items on the Pokemon. I find it hard to believe that they wouldn't include that on the UI when they've historically been doing that. Especially in a private battle, I'm sure there has to be some sort of rule that lets you turn them on if it's not an auto default. But the items I'm not super concerned about. What really stuck out to me is the fact that if you take a look at this, the columns are all the way to the far right. Now, this might be a little bit copium, but hear me out. Normally, the columns are a little bit more close to each other, and they're even. But if you look at this, like, why is this one so large and this one so small? And you could be like, well, that's because that's the enemy. I personally think they might be leaving space for a potential open team sheet. And I know that might be super copium, but if they're really trying to push this into the competitive side of things, make this the new avenue for all of competitive gaming, and they decide to keep the open team sheet, I don't want to say mechanic, but the rules, I guess, in competitive Pokemon, one of the biggest complaints has always been that on ladder, it's kind of bad practice because it's all closed team sheet. I'm just saying that it's a little weird to me that the UI looks like this, and I could see open team sheet being put in here. Not saying it's gonna happen. I don't know, that kind of stuck out to me there. So that is one thing. I mean, you have all this open space to see the stadium, I guess, but whatever. One other thing I just wanted to note is that, first of all, the animation going from clicking on attack to the moves is cool. It's like a little like eruption animation. Is really cool. One of the other nice quality of life things they added in here is that it says extremely effective instead of just super effective. So I'm assuming that the extremely effective means it's 4 times a week instead of 2 times a week, which is what super effective is. In the past, super effective covered both 2 times and 4 times. I think this is great to just help out those newer players. And honestly, it's like knowledge that people have built up over time. So most of us are going to think like, oh, just play the game and learn. But you have to understand, people coming into a game that's been around since 1996 and trying to learn 30 years of knowledge is a barrier of entry that just isn't fun. It's not fun anymore. It's like trying to get into League of Legends now if you've never played before. Sure, as you play, you will learn things, but it's just, there's such a barrier to entry that it's either overwhelming or you lose to stupid things that you probably just shouldn't lose to. And it's just, I don't know, it's not fun. As somebody who's done that myself, I get it. So I'm not bothered by this. I actually think it's a great addition. Just to make it extremely clear to newer players and just help them learn faster. Because eventually they'll get to the point where they just know that this is 4 times a week, right? It's unnecessary. So I think that is something that is great. There's a little animation again. Another thing they added is also mostly ineffective. So that means the 0.5 times effectiveness on a move. Again, think it's great. So let's just keep going through the trailer here. One other thing that I think is a great quality of life, maybe this is just a me issue, but I think the fact that they added it means it's not just a me issue. When you click on a move and you go to target select, it actually shows you the move you have selected. So I think this is great because sometimes on cart, I get a little confused as to which either move I have locked in or which Pokemon I'm on. And you might think, oh, that's like so boomer of you. But I'm going to be honest, a lot of the times I'm just thinking about so many different things that sometimes I just kind of forget what I'm locked into, especially when it's the second Pokemon. Because at least if it's the first one, I could say, you know what, I'm not sure, let me just press B, go back and reselect it. With this, once you lock it in, you're locked in. At least I think that's how it works in this game. I wasn't really paying attention. Maybe there's a way to press B, but historically, once you lock in, you lock in. So just having a little indicator saying, hey, this is the move you have selected, where do you want to go? It just makes it easier for me and there's less stress. For me, sometimes whenever I open up a new menu, I just kind of forget where I am in the selection process. And I think that this is a great change. So very welcomed. New animations look amazing. Honestly, it's just such a step up. I mean, it's not the best in the series, but it's such a step up from what we've had, so I can't complain. So here's the important thing that we all want to see. How do you edit these Pokemon? So right here, we can see that there is a total stat points of 66, which is so odd because we all know that EVs are basically just capped at 31 per stat. So this is the other thing that I was talking about earlier. It just seems weird to me that they're kind of redoing how you build Pokemon. Very curious of how this is going to affect the esport of things. But yeah, I think the other thing to keep in mind too is it's not even just that, it's also the points that it's going to cost. So removing stats, it doesn't look like it costs anything, but adding stats, it's definitely going to cost you, and it looks like it's going to cost 2 VP per stat point. So something's telling me that this little VP is probably super easy to get. I'm not super concerned about that, but I am a little bit concerned about the following VP points. So it's 100 points to change a move. Once you start changing the ability and changing the nature, though, it gets kind of pricey. It looks like it's 400 for an ability, 200 for a nature. I don't know. 800 VP? How long does it take you to grind that out, you know? I guess it kind of comes down to how many matches should you have to play with a suboptimal Pokemon to be able to get a optimal Pokemon. One of the things that I've always hated about competitive online games is having to play at a complete disadvantage, even if you know what you're doing, just for the sake of being time gated. So what I mean by that is old League of Legends, a system that they used to have was called a rune page, and you used to have to buy these runes, and they would increase your attack by like, or your attack, or your crit, your attack speed by a flat amount, right? If you just started playing the game, you had no rune pages and you had no runes. So without doing anything, you were automatically at a immediate disadvantage without even stepping into the game. Doesn't matter what your matchup is, who you're playing, you are at an automatic disadvantage. And I hate that about certain competitive games. So in my opinion, you should be able to play a game and get well over 1,000 points per game, in my opinion, because it should not be that I have to now play with this Gardevoir with the wrong nature, with the wrong moveset, with the wrong ability. I mean, sometimes abilities make or break Pokemon, right? Think about all those Intimidate users that are useless without Intimidate. Like, you're not running instant without intimidate, right? I mean, I guess you could, but you're probably not going to. So how bad is it when you're queuing into a match and your instant doesn't have intimidate, but the opponent does? It's just like, I don't know. And truthfully, it also just makes playing the game harder because it's going to be harder to predict what your opponent has and what they don't have. I don't think that's an intended purpose, and I also just don't think that that's healthy for the game. So I'm very hesitant on the VP system. We have to learn more about it. Again, I'm not going to immediately hate it, but we definitely have to learn more about it. So I think that's it for the Champions thing. The fact that it's coming 2026, I originally predicted that it would come early 2026. When the VGC system season got delayed to September 1st, I thought maybe that means it's coming September. Even though I did feel like it was a little soon without having like a full trailer like this. Unfortunately, it looks like we're going to be waiting, but hopefully that means that they will take feedback into account with VP. I'm not holding out for it, but hopefully. And also, it makes the models look a little bit better. But let me know what you guys think about Champions. I am super hyped for this game. I think it's going to be really, really good. Obviously, you know, approach with caution. It's good to have concerns and look at it, but I don't think it's ready to hop onto the hate train yet. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll read it and then comment and reply. That was the worst outro I ever did. So yeah, thanks.